podcast fam? Jason Carr opened the Gainesville Express Employment Professionals franchise, a professional recruiting agency that provides hiring support for both temporary and permanent hiring needs. After completing college, Jason went into retail management working for Walmart and then Lowe's. Hiring was a constant challenge and source of frustration. It always is, isn't it? After a chance meeting with the owner of Express Employment Ocala franchise, Jason entered the recruiting world in 2007 with the mission to help companies solve their hiring challenges. In 2011, the opportunity to open a franchise in Gainesville became available, and now, 11 years later, Express is the premier agency for premium talent in the Alachua job market. Today, we dive into something so many businesses need help with: hiring. What are Jason's thoughts? Find out in episode 165 of the WHOA GNV podcast. You are listening to WHOA podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa. I am your host, Collin, and today's episode is coming to you courtesy of The Best Restoration. You guys, you need to have friends on your side when those disasters happen. When that toilet overflows or when that pipe bursts in the wall, or if you're like us and you move into a business that's full of mold, The Best Restoration is there for you. I can speak firsthand to the quality of their work. These guys are amazing. With their certified techs and state-of-the-art equipment, these guys are the masters of disaster. Be sure to give them a call at 352-505-3321 or visit them at thebestrestoration.com. All right, you guys. Today on the show, we have Jason Carr, franchise owner of Express Employment Professionals of Gainesville. Jason, my friend, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. Super stoked to be here.
My pleasure, man. I'm excited about this because we're going to talk about hiring today, you guys. And I'm excited to dive into it because let's just face it, it's been a little bit difficult as of late.
But it's tough out there.
But before we do that, I kind of want to hear a little bit of background, man. Tell me, how you got to Gainesville, why you got into this business, how you got into this business, and tell me a little bit about your story.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I went to a private college. I was a pastor's kid, really strict Pentecostal upbringing. So, like the second I got into college, all I wanted to do was cut loose and do what I wanted to do, and went to a very conservative private Presbyterian college and figured out how to break, I think, every single rule that they had, and did not focus on studying very much. So,
where are you from?
Pennsylvania. So
where in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, just about an hour north of Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So I went to school in Grove City, which most people don't know, but it's about 50 miles north of Pittsburgh on the west side of the state. So fast forward a couple of years, my wife, my now wife, still wife, thankfully, we had met when we were 17, but we found out we were having our first son when we were 20. Right before my junior year of school. So now you have to be an adult, you have to be a dad, a grown-up. It was terrifying. And calling my dad before Sunday morning service on Sunday to tell him the big news, that was more terrifying than realizing I was going to have to be an adult. But so I went to work.
How did that go?
It was actually pretty good with my dad. He's like, well, I told you were living in sin. This is what was going to happen. And so that's my dad. But my mom didn't talk to me for like a month. It was horrible. But it ended up, working out for the best. I mean, now fast forward, I'm 40 and I've got an 18-year-old that's just got accepted to UF. He's about to start his junior year of college. He skipped 2 years, and it's perfect. I'm already counting down. Like, my youngest is 13, so it's like I know how much longer until the kids are going to be gone, and I can start thinking about early retirement, things like that. So I'm at a different stage of life than a lot of my friends. So now it seems really cool, but from 20 to 30, it was very challenging. But I had to get a real job, so I went to work for Walmart.
Okay. Up there?
Yeah, in Grove City.
Okay.
And Grove City, Pennsylvania. And I was actually privy to the first big meth bust in Western Pennsylvania because I was a cashier at the time. And 2 or 3 guys with like 4 teeth between the 3 of them were checking out tons of boxes of Sudafed. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I remember the one old lady, she's like, you must have terrible allergies. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening here, but I'm pretty sure it isn't allergies. And like 2 days later, the FBI comes in and interviews me and is like, I'm trying to do like SketchUps. You know, the artist is like, they're comparing it with the camera and like trying to get some of the details that the camera missed. So, you know, really weird stuff you run into in Walmart. I had a hobo get stabbed on the bench in front of my store in Brockton, Massachusetts, like one of the worst stores that Walmart has, and I was there for that. So just crazy stuff at Walmart. But I started as an electronics associate while I was in college, and by the time I completed my bachelor's degree, they're like, you know, we want to get you into the management training program. I was super psyched. I remember my first real job was $38,000 a year. So happy. And they're like, okay, if you want to go into the manager training program, you have to be willing to move anywhere after you finish. I'm like, okay, you know, this is an adventure. You know, my family's just getting started. I want to get out of Pennsylvania anyway. So they sent me to Massachusetts and put me in the worst store in the district. And I remember working 22 days straight after about a year with Walmart. And I just decided, man, this is not a good fit for me. Ended up going to Lowe's, much better experience. They had a store opening in Ocala that I applied for after being with Lowe's for about a year. And my parents had retired to the Villages after I had moved to Massachusetts. And so it was either go to Ocala or go back to Pennsylvania, because my wife was kind of homesick, wanted to be around some family with a new son. And, you know, so it made sense to look at Ocala. I came down here, and that was 2007. So that was 14 years ago now, and worked for Lowe's for about another 2 years, and had the owner of the Ocala Express franchise come in to the store and just struck up a conversation, and he gave me his card, and I started doing a little bit of research. I had never heard of the staffing industry. I'd never even heard of the...
Was he like recruiting you, or was it just chance conversation?
A little bit, you know, he was there
like,
to
hey,
buy...
maybe this guy looks like a good guy. Let me try to get him out of Lowe's.
Right. He was there to buy a grill, and he kind of was chatting with me. He could, you know, I had a manager label on, and so we were striking up a conversation. He's like, are you happy here? And you know, when you get yelled at 500 times a day for just enforcing the policy that's on the back of the receipt, it starts to wear on you, and you kind of wear that on your face sometimes. I think I was having one of those days.
A little defeated on the face? Yeah,
a little bit tough, a little bit run down of 70-hour work weeks, and all the Karens coming up and like wanting to talk to your boss, even though you're the highest rated ranked manager that's there, and then they're calling your district manager and the regional manager. I actually had one lady that said, I know the CEO, and it's like, oh, okay, sure. And she knew the CEO. So that was fun, you know, getting a call from the secretary of the CEO of Lowe's. So anyway, I started talking with Randall, and he asked me if I liked retail, and he asked me if I knew anything about the staffing industry, and I told him no, and give me his card. So I looked up his website, and then they happened to have a staffing, what they called a staffing consultant position open at that time. I applied to it, ended up interviewing. They liked me. I didn't have any experience, but a bachelor's degree, and I had retail management experience, including recruiting for Lowe's and Walmart. And so I ended up going to work for them. Worked out really well. They have a great team. They're one of the best producing offices in the company in Ocala. They're in the top 10% out of 850-ish offices in the U.S. And so I learned a lot. I did the staffing consultant role for a couple of years and went into the business development, B2B outside sales role. Did well enough that my corporate developer came to me and said, you know, hey, your numbers are really good for someone with no sales experience. Like, what are you doing? What's different about what you're doing?
Awesome.
So we talked about that, and her name's Callie Britton. She's still my corporate contact, and she encouraged me to look into franchising. Express has a program called Bridge to Ownership, which a lot of franchisors offer a pathway to ownership for good employees. And so they put forward the money, and I put forward the sweat equity. And so I actually brought in my younger brother, and he invested in the business as well. So most people don't know this probably, but I have two younger brothers that work with me in the business. And that's one of the big keys to our success is we have, 3 out of 5 employees that actually are owners. So it's
awesome.
It's really an ownership mentality, no matter who you're speaking with in the business. So that was 2011 when we opened. got the opportunity to open in the Gainesville market. And it was just when we were coming out of the doldrums of the 2008-2009 recession, and things were starting to pick up. Gainesville was a little bit more insulated from the recession than Ocala was, so Gainesville picked up a little sooner than Ocala did, and we kind of hit that right in stride. We became profitable in month 6. We paid off all of our debt to our corporate office in month 11.
Awesome.
And we stayed really, really lean. And I think I mentioned to you, it was around year 3 that we kind of started to hit our stride, build some brand recognition in the community, started getting some referral business, really thought, okay, we might actually make it. And that was the first year that I made more money than I had working as an employee, as a business owner. And I felt like, okay, now I've gotten somewhere because I'm finally making enough money that it made sense for me to open my own business instead of just making someone else rich. So that's kind of how we got started, and we're going in our 10th year now.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
It's awesome. I mean, how's it feel even like reflecting on all of that? That's a pretty powerful journey.
It's exhausting. Like even thinking back, the 80-hour work weeks, we were traveling. My brother and I lived in Ocala, so we were commuting every day to Gainesville from Ocala and working 12-hour days. And it's like we don't have any orders to fill, so all we're doing is literally dialing for dollars all day long, begging companies, please let us come out and meet with you. I know we can help with your hiring. You don't pay us unless we find you a great employee that you want to onboard. And so, it just took a lot of that. And we had a little bit of favor. I think God had some divine appointments for us because in that year 3, we picked up just a couple of really big, high-profile companies here in Gainesville.
Awesome.
And they're still working with us to this day, and they've referred us a lot of business, both internally as well as some of their vendors and business partners that they work with in the community that they referred to us. And that's when we started hitting kind of that critical mass in year 3. And it's been a great trip ever since then. It's the best thing I've ever done outside of marrying a great woman and having great kids. The pride and the sense of accomplishment that comes with business ownership, and the ability, in my opinion, to be able to be used as a vehicle to help people accomplish their goals, pay their mortgage, buy their first car, get out of their parents' basement. Different people have different missions that they're trying to accomplish, and work is such a big component of who we are as individuals and how we value ourselves internally, how we demonstrate our value to others externally, and to be able to be what I think is kind of a professional matchmaker, finding that right company and finding that right person with the skill set and the cultural fit, and putting those two together, and then just seeing that relationship kind of blossom. And I get paid for it too, which is the best.
Like, this is awesome.
Part. Yeah. So yeah.
All right. So I mean, let talk to me about hiring in 2021, right? Because I mean, this is something that's come up multiple times. I mean, I even put up on Facebook the other day. What did it say? It's like, anybody with a pulse, or like now hiring anybody with a pulse. I mean, it's like, it feels like finding help is impossible right now. I mean, this is just the way it feels. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I even did like the little Indeed stuff and like, a lot of the stuff that business owners normally do. Right. So tell me why are we here? I think I have my perspective, but I really want to hear it from you and see like if it matches. Why are we in this spot, and what do business owners need to do about it to find quality help?
So it didn't happen overnight, right? We've been in an environment where there's a lot of factors that are in consideration here. Like if you're hiring for a mechanic skill set, right? Our blue collar workers, for the most part, are retiring. Those handyman type personality, they can take an engine apart and put it back together. I remember my dad taking apart a Buick motor in my driveway when I was a kid. And I'm like, how do you know how to do this stuff? And he's like, that's just what we did when we were kids. When we were teenagers, we'd take an engine out and take it apart and put it together.
They didn't have technology. That's what they did for fun.
And I'm like, how? What? And it's like kids today, I was talking to a cop the other day, and he's getting calls to help a 20-year-old guy change his flat tire. And so we've got a confluence of events here. I don't know about you, but when I was in high school, my guidance counselor was saying things like, if you want to have a good life, you go to college. Right? And so we've got a plethora of people that went to college because they wanted to have a good life, but they didn't know what they wanted to do there. And so we have a lot of people that have come into the market over the last 10 or 15 years with degrees that some are really, really useful. Some of them are less useful. And then we've got a group that's in the market that went into skilled trades, a very small group. And then we've got a lot of people that kind of bounced around in service industry jobs and really didn't kind of find their niche. And so you got all these different factors going on, demographic factors and, skill set availability and regional issues, micro, macro. There's a whole bunch of moving parts, but I think what we lost over the years from an employer standpoint is recognizing, number one, you have to build your brand in the community. That part of the mission statement for your business isn't just profitability, but what do we need to do to be the premier work destination for local talent? And so many customers of mine, and this focus is changing, I'm excited to see the change, had this mentality from the 80s and the 90s when I was growing up, you're lucky to work here, you're lucky you have a job, do things my way or hit the road. And that worked for a while because that's how they were raised. Like my dad, it's my way or the highway, buddy. Get up 7 o'clock, go mow the yard. If you don't like it, then you're grounded or worse, right? So I grew up in that. But I'm 40, and when we're talking about our young people today, they don't necessarily respond the same way that generations before did. So what are they looking for? And so I'm talking primarily about younger job seekers right now, and how do you engage with them? And what we're seeing, and I'm advising my employers that it's the same with the real estate market. The market's kind of flipped. Finding a good employee right now is like finding a house under $200,000. Talk to realtors. It seems like it's impossible. The reason it seems like that is because the good employees are already working. So there's two different types of job seekers. There's active and passive job seekers. Active job seekers are on Indeed. They're on LinkedIn. They're on Career Builder and Monster, it used to be. They're on Facebook. And they're actively looking for work. Now, some of those people actually want a great job, and they're going to make great employees. Some of those people are looking to fulfill their unemployment requirements. Some of those people aren't even applying for themselves. It's their wife, it's their mom, it's their grandma that's filling out the job applications. It's one of the reasons that in my business, we're seeing the lowest interview attendance rate that we have seen since we opened. I think if we had to look at year to date, we'd probably be at about 65% of the people that we schedule for interviews actually show up. So 1/3 of the people we engage with on the phone or online are getting an interview scheduled, but not showing up for that interview.
And is that because they're just trying to take advantage of the unemployment stuff that's happening right now, or is that not the case?
It's possible. What I think is happening is that people are scared to audition. They're scared to go into an environment that's foreign to them. They're scared to have to sell themselves because we're not preparing kids in high school for interviews. We're not preparing them to write resumes. I mean, I'm dealing with college grads that are just scared to death to show up for an interview. Are they going to judge me? Am I going to say the wrong thing? What do I wear? How do I write a resume? Is my internship in the right industry? I don't have an internship. Am I doomed?
Well, how are they ever going to get a job if they don't interview?
I know, but we have to figure out a way. And so I'm telling my staff, look, this is a sales job now. This isn't recruiting. This is sales. If you're going to sell a scooter, you have to sell new scooters for less to job seekers. Look, you have to work here. Anywhere else you work is going to be a worse decision than working here, and here's why. Here's my value proposition. Here's why, we're the best place to work in the community, and you have to do that before you even get them in the door. Like when you're talking to them the first time on the phone, if you're not excited about your company, they're not going to be either. And so I'm coaching my staff, look, hey, we got your application. Thanks for filling that out. We have an opening tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Here's our address. We'll email you an appointment confirmation. We'll look forward forward to seeing you, click. And then we're getting 1/3 of those people we engage with not showing up. So it's like you cued in the show today. You're excited. You're doing something you're passionate about. We need to convey that through the phone. And we need to make it easy for employees to engage with the decision maker that's going to make the hiring decision. So, when I'm telling my clients, the more steps you have between the final decision maker and the job seeker, the less likely you are to successfully onboard that person. So if your interview process is 13 steps long, you're going to do a personality profile, you're going to do, reference checks, drug screen, background check. There's nothing wrong with all that stuff. They're going to interview with, 3 different managers. They're going to do a panel interview. They're going to do a cultural survey analysis.
There's no way. You're going to lose them. They're not going to go through all that.
Because Joe Blow down the street is saying, hey, buddy, you got a great resume. Show up to work on Monday and you're hired. Yeah. And we'll just see how it goes. And so what I'm encouraging my clients, lean on that probationary period. Whether you use an agency like ours where you can onboard people through our service and remove the risk of workers' comp and unemployment and make turnover really easy, make replacing candidates easy. Whether you use us or not, lean on that 90-day probation period. Try someone out. Give them the benefit of the doubt. If they don't work out, that's going to happen, but you got to remove as many obstacles as possible from between you and the final decision maker. So we work with a lot of manufacturing clients. And most people think the HR person is the one that pulls the trigger on, makes the hiring decision, right? It isn't. It's usually a middle manager that's on the production floor, is the last person they're going to talk to, actually shows them what the job is that they're going to do, and then tells the HR manager, hey, I like this guy or girl, let's go ahead and get them started. Why is that the 13th step in the process instead of like the second or third? Why aren't we getting middle manager Joe involved on the front end of the hiring process? Because in those 2 or 3 weeks that you're taking to onboard that new employee, he's getting 3 or 4 job offers from your competition. So we're seeing a lot of bureaucracy interfering with especially the bigger companies because they're so scared of getting sued. They need to have 13 steps between them and the hiring decision. So if they make a negative hiring decision, they've got all these causes for that. And I'm not an employment attorney, so there's good things about that. There's bad things about that. One of the bad things is you're putting distance between yourself and the job seeker, and it's a very impersonal engagement process. And you really want to personalize it for the job seeker. You really want to be excited about what you do and convey that to them and make it as easy as possible for them to get a job.
Talk to me a little bit about the new minimum wage and how this is really going to impact people.
Like all the accountants in the room are just like crying into their tequila.
Well, I was thinking because this episode is going to go out right before September, which is when it changes, right? Yep. In Florida.
Yep.
So it's going to change to $12 an hour. Is that right? Or am I getting that wrong? I have to
pull the numbers on that, but it's around there. And
anyway, I can't even recall, you guys. I mean, that's where we've already started our team members is like 12 an hour, and then they have the opportunity to make more based on performance and that kind of thing, right? But I've started to see McDonald's throwing up signs saying, up to $12 an hour. I just drove by a place today that said hiring technicians $3,000 signing bonus. This competition for one, to even just get people, like you said, to come and work. But now employers have to really consider the fact that the cost is going up. I can't have a college student work in my business and get experience between $8 and $10 an hour anymore. That's just not possible.
Right.
So how's this gonna really impact a lot of what we're seeing with local businesses? I mean,
it's going to have a huge impact. We're already seeing it. And so our best customers right now, the ones that we have the easiest time hiring for, are being proactive, and they're already talking to their employees. Look, the employees know what's going on with wages in the area. They're hearing it from their friends. And so if you're being reactive and thinking, well, my employee, he's been with me for 3 years, he's not going to look. Well, he may not be actively looking, but he may be passively looking, talking to friends. And when his buddy tells him he got a $5 $15 an hour raise to walk across the street and go to a different place to work, and he's doing exactly the same job he was doing before, your employee starts thinking about that. Well, it's $5 an hour is, $800 a month gross. That's a mortgage. That's my house that I've always wanted to buy. And so everyone is job searching right now. And so what we need to do as employers is be proactive, talking to our employees. I understand that wages are going up in the area, and here's what we're doing. So I have clients that are already addressing this, and I can tell you in my business, and it's a great aggregate because we work across the board. We work with customer service, we work with blue collar, we work with admin positions, accounting, engineering, and for what we've seen, our average hourly pay rate has gone up 8% year to date versus 2020 year to date. So that's an 8% increase in 1 year. Right now, our average starting rate of pay is $16 an hour in Gainesville. And that's as an aggregate, not excluding white collar. So we're just looking at, your lower level admins and your blue collar, your general labor. I can tell you right now at apartment complexes all over Gainesville, we have people working doing apartment turn season. Unskilled labor pays $15 an hour right now. That's how desperate people are for talent. So when clients ask me, what do you think about the $15 minimum wage? I tell them it's already here. So if you're looking for someone that's going to be a future leader in your company, that's going to come in and be eager to learn and have a high level of initiative, a high level of retention, personal responsibility, personal accountability, be a problem solver, be an innovator in your business, they're looking for $15, $16 an hour for unskilled work. And so that's what we're seeing with our clients. I've got, 5 or 6 major manufacturers in the area right now that consider $15 an hour their minimum wage. And so when you're competing with that, when you're competing with Target at 15, when you're competing with Walmart paying cashiers and people pushing carts in their lot $14 an hour to start, that's the minimum wage. And so what do employers do? Well, it's funny because I was having this conversation with an engineering firm, believe it or not, about 6 months ago. And they were telling me how great their business is and their profit margins have gone up and they're raising prices with their customers and, and inflation and the cost of goods going up. And I'm asking them, okay, well, man, yeah, inflation is a really big deal right now. And we're all having to raise prices because, our costs are going up. Well, when you raise prices for your customers and you're raising because of the increase in prices of cost of goods sold, are you looking at your payroll cost and raising that in tangent to the inflation and cost of goods?
They said no.
And no. My wages haven't changed over the last 2 years, over the last year.
I mean, did they not realize
we're raising prices, but
right?
We're not looking at payroll. We're looking at it as a fixed cost instead of a variable cost. And so my best clients are looking at pay right now. They're looking at pay competitiveness on a quarterly basis. And they need to present a value proposition to their employees. If they're not a market leader in pay for their industry, what do they offer as a substitute? Do you have great benefits? Do you have an awesome culture? Do you have flex time? How do you sell your business? What's your value proposition? How do you sell a scooter? Why is your scooters better than your competitors? Why is my service better than my competitors? What's your value proposition? It's the same way with your employees. They know wages are going up. They know they can go elsewhere and probably get a higher rate of pay. What are you doing about it? What's your plan for pay competitiveness as wages continue to increase? And are you sharing in their pain? Because I got a client right now that's working on putting a ballot initiative forward for housing affordability for Alachua County. And it's have you looked at the rents in the area, and have you looked at the home prices in the area? People can't get by on $10 or $11 an hour. And so, we have companies in the area that, a year and a half, 2 years ago, were getting on board with the living wage concept. And it was innovative at the time. But those types of companies are just sucking all the talent out of the market because not only are they looking at wages as a component of attracting the best talent, and not only do they realize that if I pay more, I can reduce my headcount, have more engaged, more productive employees, work less overtime, have less, defective parts, in manufacturing, have less unhappy customers because my customer service reps are well paid and they're happy and they're engaging well with my customers. I'm going to have lower turnover. I'm going to have lower recruiting costs. And so you have to really look at it as an aggregate. And the cost of turnover is about 30% of the annual salary of the employee you're replacing, if you include training and onboarding and ramp up. So if you're cycling people out your door all day long, you're already paying the inflated prices, the inflated wages. You're just paying it in turnover and training time and managers that can't do their job because they're training new employees. So it really takes kind of a reorganization of how we think about compensation and what we're doing in terms of being proactive and communicating with our employees. Are we doing retention bonuses right now? That's a new one I saw the other day, right? So I've got clients doing $1,000 retention bonuses every year that you stay with the company.
So just by being there.
If you're still here a year from now, I'm going to write you a check for $1,000.
Unbelievable.
And they save money by doing that. And they think of it as, oh, this is an additional cost. Well, if the employee stays because of it, you're saving 30% of their annual salary.
So do you like that? You like that way of looking at it?
I mean, it's great for me because I look for, when I engage with a client and they call us, and we're turning away as much business as we're taking right now. And when a company calls me and they say, hey, this is what we want to pay for the skill set we're looking for, and I do the comp analysis and I meet with them and I say, this is where you need to be on pay. You need to be at $15 to $17 an hour. And they say, okay, well, we pay $11 to $13. So go ahead and fill it, man. I'm like, I can't make people work for 30% less than the market says they're worth. And so what I can do is find you the best talent that's willing to work for a competitive wage. And I can give you the quality of people that 6 months after they start, you're like, man, I am so glad this person works here. And there's some pricing pain at the beginning because, another issue you got to look at, if I start bringing people in at a higher rate of pay, what do I do with the guys that are already here? So it's not as simple as I'm just going to raise wages for new employees. It's something that has to be done gradually, and you have to be creative in how you do it. And you have to make sure that you're looking at your key players and then you're rewarding that performance. And not everyone looks for the same reward. I have an amazing administrative assistant that does our payroll and answers our phones and sets up interviews, and she's a rock star. And I've basically begged her to be a staffing consultant because she'd make like 50% more money. She just wants more time off, not more responsibility, not more money, just more time off. And it's like, if you can go through your company and you can tell me or, anybody what motivates each employee, because they're all different, then you've got a good shot at engaging, retaining, and those employees telling their friends, you need to come work here because it's an amazing place. They're really in tune with what we're looking for as employees, and they recognize that. So you're either a stop in their career or you're the end, that they're planning on sticking around for a long time, or you're just kind of a way station until they find something better. And a lot of that, it's huge.
A players want to work with A players.
Absolutely.
Period. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no problem.
Sorry.
I lost my train of thought.
So, you can help anybody with any particular type of job? Like, can you help me find a mechanic, or are there areas where you're like, this is our specialty? This is
I'm gonna coach my clients on, what's realistic to look for right now. Small engine mechanics are really, really challenging to find in this market. So if you're willing to wait 6 months or a year, we could probably find you one. I filled Silver Airways. I filled 15 what's called A&P licensed mechanics, airframe and power plant mechanics for jet engines. Right? I found them. Takes a long time. But what I see a lot of companies doing is finding someone, like I think you hinted at this in your Facebook post, which is finding someone with the general handiness, mechanical aptitude, bringing them in and kind of tooling that skill set and training them.
Yeah.
I think when you bring someone in and you give them a skill set, you're more likely to keep them. When you bring in an artisan, it's all about pay. And so when they get an offer at $5 more an hour, they're going to be gone. But you earn some loyalty when you bring someone in and you teach them a trade.
Yeah, I think, I'm juggling with this. I'm juggling with where I'm going with the business, right? And the situation I'm in now, because it's like I need help now.
Right.
And I don't mind taking the role. And actually, we did find somebody, but we need more than one.
Sure, right?
I feel like we use like 6 mechanics right now. So I did find somebody who's straight out of high school, right? super handy. I'd actually worked on scooters before. Kind of was doing it as like a side hustle type thing, you know. So that worked well. Like we get the raw talent in.
Absolutely.
We can totally get them trained up.
Right.
To do what we need them to do and work the way, you know, we need them to work in our environment. Right.
Right.
But then it's like, I know that my long-term aspirations are to set this up so I can really take a step out. I mean, it's been on multiple shows at this point of like trying to transition out of New Scooters for Less to be able to focus on this more time, full time, right?
Right.
And so I'm like looking at it as like, okay, I can have this young raw talent. And actually, I would say in Gainesville on a whole, this is kind of a problem. It's like you have a lot of young raw talent.
Absolutely.
But still, you need that ace. You need that experienced tech who can like teach all the others, lead the rest of the team, you know, and that's the guy that's really hard to find.
Yeah, and he demands a good wage right now. I'm telling my clients, if you're looking for top of the talent pool, you have to pay top of the talent pool wages. And so where I see, and it's across the board, it's fascinating to me because when I ask my clients, what do you think you need to be paying for this position? They will consistently price themselves in the 25th to 50th percentile. You know, look at the graph and where the averages are for the area, and just blind, you know, I think we should be here. They're in the 25th to 50th percentile. And when I'm telling my clients, the target range right now should be the 75th percentile. And I mean, they're just like, you know, on a $15 an hour employee, you know, they're looking at $13-14 an hour, and they need to be looking at, you know, $17-18 an hour. And a year ago, before COVID, you could get that guy at 15. You could be around that 50th percentile and pick up the ones that are, you know, working but not like real happy where they're at, you know, just casual job seekers. But right now we're seeing so much. There's so much job portability in the market. Literally, if you are sharp, you've got a stable work history, you've got an in-demand skill set. You can get 3 or 4 job offers in 3 or 4 days, and we're seeing it all the time. I mean, you know, if I get a great resume, great candidate, I send it out to 4 employers. They all want to interview on the same day, like that day.
Send him now.
You get him now? Can you drive him over here? Don't even let him leave your office or her. And we're getting multiple job offers, and they're fighting over the talent. So it's great to be talent right now.
Yeah.
You know, I had a executive assistant the other day that was in a price war with 3 different companies, and the initial offer was $48,000. The final offer was $68,000. And it's like, now she's worth every penny of it, but she wouldn't have got that a year ago. There's no way. And so we need to look at where we're at competitively. And you're not competing with scooter stores. You're competing with automotive, you know, people. You're competing with diesel mechanics. You're competing with, you know, the Harley Davidson. You know, these are all skill sets that all of these companies are looking for right now, and they're all willing to train right now. So that's who you're competing with. So it's kind of an aggregate. You got to get that data, and you got to make sure that you're priced competitively in this market. Like if you're putting your house up for sale right now, and you know, you got interested parties, their realtors are telling them, you know, 15% off of asking is not where you want to start if you want any chance of getting this house. Like you need a shock and awe. Can't you remember
offer,
Bush shock and awe?
A full offer with like a $20,000 escalatory clause.
You need Norman Schwarzkopf, Storm and Norman. You need to shock and awe with your offer, and that's what we're seeing with job seekers too.
I mean the potential employee is in the driver's seat.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what all this comes down to.
It really does. So, you know, they're not afraid right now, and I am not encouraging this, and I am actively discouraging this. And if someone comes in and they take a job with me, and a week after they start, they're like, I want something else. That's no deal for me. You know, I want you to give an honest shot at the company that you've made a commitment to. But we're not seeing employees are not afraid after 2 or 3 months, and they feel like they're not being treated right, or they feel like, you know, they're not getting paid right. They're gone.
Move on to the next.
And it's nothing, because they'll get a job in 2 or 3 days.
All right. So my final question before we wrap this up, the COVID impact, everything that's happened with everybody work, you know, a lot of people have been working remotely. Sure. And now it's like there's a lot of employers trying to pull people back in, and maybe that has a lot to do with this. Like I feel like you got to be super flexible. It's like, you know, now we're going to be in this maybe we're in forever a hybrid workplace where it's like you get to spend X amount of hours at home, X amount of hours, at the office or whatever. Like, I don't know. I'm just kind of curious, like, from your perspective and being in this on the day-to-day basis, what have you seen that has come as a result of COVID-19?
Well, people act like the desire to work from home is new. Like, employers are like, oh my God, all my employees want to work from home now. No, they always wanted to work from home. Now they have a good excuse, right? And so I've got a friend of mine, his wife is an engineer and very talented, and everything she does, she can do from home just as well as she can do it sitting in the office. And she's getting letters from, senior management now that's like, you need to work in the office. And there's big pushback. It's like, why? Do I have to be in the office to do my job effectively? Has my performance decreased since I left working in the office? And so what I'm encouraging my employers to look at is the employees in the driver's seat. What is mission critical? Do we have to have butts in seats 5 days a week? If so, why? If we don't need to, let's be transparent with our employees and let's talk about, how often do you have to be here? But the whole concept of, okay, COVID's over, and now we got Delta. We're going to have Epsilon. We're going to have Theta. We're going to have Xenon. We're going to have all kinds of crazy stuff. We really need to look at, it's not about COVID. It's about engaging with our workforce in the way they want to engage with us. So if you assemble tables for a living, you got to come to work. You can't do that remote.
Right.
But if you work in a call center, you don't need to be there. And convincing an employee who wants to work from home that you have to be physically in the building when they know, because they've been doing it for the last year remotely, it's going to be a tough sell. And you're going to lose people that want employers that offer more flexibility. And so COVID has just accelerated the trend that was already there, which is employees demanding more flexibility in their schedule, more flexibility in their work environment, and an employer that considers, balancing the desire for control, because that's what this comes down to, right? I want to protect my culture. I want to control my work product, right? And we really need to start thinking about, what's your work product if you don't have any employees? So that's what it comes down to. How do we engage and meet the needs of our workforce and maintain product quality, customer satisfaction, quotas, deadlines? It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And we're seeing if you're not being flexible with your employees, your competitors are. So just be aware, if you're in a talent market that's high demand and you tell your employees no because I said so, someone's going to tell them yes because you want it. And that's what you're competing with.
There it is, guys. Times are a-changing.
It's good. You can really win in this market if you take an honest look at how you're compensating your employees, at your workplace culture, how you're engaging with job seekers and the brand you're building for yourself in the community. If you put an honest focus and an honest effort in doing those things, you've got tons of companies that aren't. You can be ahead of the curve, but don't wait till 2026 when the minimum wage goes to $15 an hour to start talking to your employees about how, we finally got you up to $15 an hour. That's a conversation you got to be having now. Get out in front of the problems. You're gonna separate yourself from your competition and recruit and retain better talent.
Be proactive, not react.
That's it.
Awesome, man. This has been great.
Yeah,
this is super informative. I know this is going to be super valuable to everybody who's listening. So thanks for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where can our audience connect with you if they want to learn more about what you guys do?
So
what's the website? All that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. www.expresspros.com. And no matter where you're watching from in the U.S., with 850-ish offices in the U.S., I'd be happy to connect you with an office that's close to you, whether direct hire, professional search, or attempt to hire administrative and blue-collar workers. We've got the solution for your needs.
Awesome. Jason, thanks again, man.
Yeah, awesome.
And thank you so much to James Leitner for making us both look so good on camera and on the mics. Appreciate you, brother. And podcast fam, remember you can find all the links to our incredible sponsors that make the show happen at whoagnv.com/sponsors. You can also find the links of today's incredible sponsors down in the show notes and on the social media channels. They're always there, so be sure to get linked up to the people who are making this possible. We appreciate all of our amazing sponsors. And special love this episode to our friends at the UF Mover Guys. If you need help moving your home or your business, give our friends Brad and Jordan a call at UF Mover Guys. These guys do it all. They got a huge team to take care of all of your moving needs. They do full service packing, moving bulky items, disassembling furniture, because you guys really, like, nobody ever wants to do that part. That's like the worst part of moving. Nobody wants to disassemble the furniture. And if you need storage, they've got your back there too. My favorite part of their service is that you don't have to pay for anything up front. You pay once the move is completed and you are completely satisfied. These guys have over 600 Google reviews with a 4.9 star rating for a reason. Give them a call at 352-415-0886. Again, that's 352-415-0886, or visit them at ufmoverguys.com. And when you call them, be sure to say, I heard you on the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go,
whoa.
Whoa. We will see you later. Bye.
See you.